I think it's just a great time to bring the last turning point. And it's a short interview with Marlon Barrios Solano. Marlon is an artist and independent educator, but at the moment he lives in the Vipassana Center, where he studies Zen Buddhism. Let's look at the material.
That I feel that is really important. It is, however we think, I like to think this, however we think, ambition is, it comes from the whole historical background and the cultural history that we have, that we actually related with something that's called a career path. And that, it has a very interesting stuff. It's like walking, it looks like the metaphor of walking, meaning the teleology of going somewhere, I'm going this way, is related with that notion that we're actually going somewhere. So, and that there is a path and there is some kind of career, actually that implied all these notions of competition, reaching a goal, first than others. There is an attribution, of course, of value, a hierarchy in which, of course, this cannot be related with the establishment of how power is embedded in our culture, that has related with economy and how labor, the whole labor structures. And as artists or researchers or whatever knowledge producers in art, we are not outside of all the game in which ambition have been also featured it's like a feature of our personalities, and all those are cultural creations, personality features and all that. There is nothing in me or in you that is actually an ambition. It's a social construction. Constructed, it's not real. It is a cultural factor, but very related with economic and political forces. And then we are victims of it, or we enact it, and we may burn out or have success. And that is part of the whole bullshit. Then the mind creates future. There is one of the functions of the mind is being a predictor, to kind of go around having some kind of teleological end. It's not a teleology in itself. It doesn't exist. It's actually an operational function. So, I'm going to pee and I have to organize my behavior to go to the bathroom, but that doesn't mean that I'm ambitious about peeing. Exactly. So there are things that needs to be done, and there are other things that are constructed in relationship to things that we need. So then ambition in relation to entrepreneurial mind is one of the most amazing blown up features of the last wave of neoliberal capitalism after 2008, that the whole shit fell apart. So then what was left? More or less say that we all were actually, it was our fault, because if you're failing, meaning that you are not entrepreneurial enough. So then it became the new, cultural industries and That was a win that I witnessed when I was in New York, because I was working in New York when the whole shit fell apart. And then it was like, oh my God, we artists were already not having anything, because it was, it was already precarious. But then that wave moved to Europe. Practically, I just go to Europe, and then it was like this wave chasing me of, oh my God, everybody have to be creative and an innovator and an innovator. Creativity and innovation became the shit. And then but the implication of that is saying that the system or the actual field is an even field, and everybody has equal opportunity, which is also bullshit. And saying that we are already there, and whoever succeeds, because it's putting a strong actual creativity, deploying its mind outward with a lot of, design thinking and all that bullshit, and saying that that's going to work, and it's all a fallacy. We know that it has been up out there, and, normally the people who succeed is people who keep going through many years or have enormous angels, or, or white, because that's one of the, belong to the, normally, what is it called, kind of Eurocentric way of understanding success. And it's a quite, interesting, yet hegemonic way of understanding creativity and art, of course. So anyway, I think it's very problematic. More than an ambition, I have perhaps an ambition in relationship to knowledge and curiosity. So I was, I did things that are, not logically within a career path. And because there is no such a thing, but I've been doing things like, okay, I'm just gonna do this. And I literally uprooted myself and I started traveling, doing this dance tech project in which I was doing interviews, traveling to festivals. And I think the innovations happened just because I was curious. So that's what an interesting thing, and kind of daring and kind of crazy, meaning living in a very, very precarious situation for more than 7 years, with no home. And I'm not a spring chicken, I am 53 right now. So that means that I start depleting my energy, like really to have a lifestyle that it was with high mobility, a totally non-local worker, distributed all over the world, traveling and transmitting, which sounds very cool. Part of that utopia, that digital utopianism. But at the same time, perhaps the answer was like, yes, there was something that was moving me. But I don't think that it was an ambition total of power. There were moments that it was really cool when I connected with the BS of the bullshit of our environment. One of the moments is when people start believing in my work, when Bill Forsyth gave me an interview. I was like, oh my God, Marlon exists. So those things, paradoxically, were very beautiful and disappointing. Meaning you start seeing, oh, I am more successful right now when Hatzete invited me to be a researcher. Oh my God, Marlon's worth it. So then I started working also in the United States, when here no one gave two shits about what I was doing in the United States. So it's like, oh my God, now it's at Hatzete. So then, it was interesting for me how to feel that the same game, if I was open, it was extremely disappointing. Because it was not success. It was a bunch of cultural agreements in which people believe, actually, that they were real. So, and through the generosity of Bill Forsyth, with his magnanimous and amazing in many ways, boom, I exist. So then, Hatzete, I traveled to Brazil, blah, blah, blah. So there were a lot of things that I was moving with the game. And I was relatively successful. But a looming sadness started it's like, wow, this doesn't make any sense. Or I really kind of feel like, okay, I'm just feeling that I don't want to do this anymore, and this way. So then it required for me to explore what are the fundamental questions. So instead of playing the game. So, and those questions always emerged when I started to practice this thing called Vipassana. So I started practicing Vipassana probably 8 years ago, a meditation practice in which it became literally a deconstruction practice. When, everything fall apart and, you start seeing thoughts, memories. So, and also it became very liberating when I started seeing kind of in between the spaces of my own constructions. Oh my God, I am it now because I am in Berlin. Or Or when I start feeling, if I say that I'm Venezuelan, people are like, you know what I mean? It's the same. It's all the same part of hegemonic bullshit that has enacted in a full post-colonial ways of power a lot of things that are pervasive in the art world. Not only in that world, but in the art world, I think we live it. Something that I felt that is part of the malady that is created by the system of believing that there is something that is ambition that is moving you, that is actually the neoliberal capital system and the whole bullshit, is that we really believe that we have to have that ambition, and it totally disconnects you with affection and community and the grounds of sociality. In Pali, that is the language in which a lot of the Buddhist canonic writings exist, is called Tangha. And Tangha is craving. So literally, in the model of Buddhist psychology, what creates suffering is craving itself. Craving for becoming or craving for not becoming, meaning I hate that shit or I love that. I love it, I want more. I hate it, I don't want it. And there is space in between for boredom, or confusion. So it's a very simple model. And that simplicity for me had been very liberating, because it really puts there is a practice to see this thing arise. I want to be that, or I want to be better that. And what we do is allow it to pass. So it's not that that's bad, or we suppress it. It's like really we observe how it has an illusory quality, meaning it's not real. That word aspiration, that is a little bit softer, and it's related with breathing. It's related with, and then it's something that it forced me to see: do I really need this, even if it's killing me as a career in the art world for many years? And for some reason, I felt that what I was doing was killing me, and I was, I published and I'm quite successful, and I'm extremely open about this, because there is a very, very precarious and unfair landscape. And that is extremely politicized, that is enormous, huge amount of racism. And there is incredible Eurocentric. And is sometimes not willing to see itself with that. And then I said, then there is a word that is what I call hope. The other word that is aspiration, I will put hope. They're softer. And they're a little bit more social. There is a little bit of, it's good for me, it can be good for you. Or whatever is good for you is good for you. And that is something that in this practice has been, I had to relearn, really, how to love other people. Really, because I was getting so bitter. Really, the competition, sometimes it became so bitter. Really, there were so many things that I honestly decided to step out. And that is that step out, meaning have a job that has nothing to do directly with this, and then keep my inquiry going. So the only thing that I own right now, and I think it's enough.
At the beginning, Juan, you mentioned that there was some positive side of ambition, or the good ambition, and then more like a different type of ambition. Marlon brought definitely also the negative side of it, at least from his own perspective. We thought after the interview how different will be the world if nobody would be ambitious at all. What kind of society will be that of non-ambitious people? And we can believe that there will be always a negative side of anything, and it would be a bit naive to imagine that we can only keep the positive aspect of something. So since this negative side of ambition appears to also to be effective, For instance, he mentions competitiveness, the fact that sometimes we need to compete with our colleagues because also the opportunities are limited and we are too many. This already turned the playground into a competitive and even social comparison context. So we thought that also for this last sticking point, we could also go a bit deeper into this negative side of ambition. Also, we can bring maybe some personal experiences on it. What are also your perceptions? As Marlon said, it was killing him. Have you ever felt also that there is something that is really making him feel anxious or restless in the side of what does it mean also to be an artist and keeping a career going on?
I think, Eva, you already said balance in the beginning, and I would say definitely, I think I had to learn that there are moments where I better stop and take a break or take a rest. So,
which moment? What happens in this moment?
I think like realizing that if you feel like you want to do this and you want to do this, and you know already that everything is sort of too close together, but you said yes to these three things because you felt that if you say no, it's a lost opportunity, and someone will not ask you again. So I think, of course, there are moments where I realize, I overestimated what I can do, especially then when I'm ambitious to also do them as good as I can. And I mean, of course, there are like signs of exhaustion, of feeling stressed. So I think it's important to recognize those. And then to kind of have that moment where you say, okay, I won't do this, or I won't do this again, or I will focus less on this one, I mean, I think to sort of understand this, and I think the other thing is to maybe also to get better at saying no to things when you feel like this is actually not what I really want to do. I think this is something that when Marlon was saying this, that I had to think about a lot, like what happens if you kind of sell yourself to a system without listening to what you get from it, or what is sort of also feeding your desires. And I think if you lose a sense of that and you only start reacting to what is offered to you, I think that's a moment where I personally was at moments where I felt like I'm burning out if I continued working like this.
Yeah, well, I agree, partly because I think we are in a dynamic of overdoing all the time. At least I feel in my surrounding, my field, that we are all very busy trying to do and doing. On the other hand, if you don't do, you never know. So how to know what is going to happen if you never try? Well, not never try, but sometimes you, by experience, how this woman said before, after many years, I know my priorities. But for me, priorities are also very questionable. I don't know what is really a priority. You can define a priority in one moment, but is this forever? Or, like there are many examples in life, like, should I keep going with this or not? What is a priority? No? So in the end, for me, it's the eternal question. Should I do this or not? I'm usually doing everything, which is killing, of course. But should I not kill myself better than die peacefully? So I don't know. This is a big question. It's like, to listen to yourself and to be balanced, it would be an ideal. But I don't know if it's so easy. To try maybe it's good, but I don't know. This balance for me is always like a pain in the ass. You know what I mean?
No, I think...
I want to be balanced, but what is to be balanced?
No, I think... I totally agree. I think I agree with you that most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, it's also fun to do a lot and to do too much. And I think then there's like, but you also need to know for yourself where do you run into a situation where you exhaust yourself to a point that you also don't recover anymore. But of course, I think most of the time, I agree with you. Like, if we don't do things, and if we're not overwhelmed by the things we do, we will not find out. So I think I also consider it part of the field I'm working in that I do that.
If you allow me to do one remark,
Yeah.
because also what Marlon was bringing, it was not exclusively about overdoing, no,
Yeah.
but also realizing how there is an unfairness on the context as well. There are some kind of profiles more privileged than others, so this is not necessarily only connected with overdoing, it's also realizing how unfair the context sometimes is, and how it's also playing either because it's politicized or there are some interests here or there, depending on where do you come from or even how do you play the game. So also once you realize in what kind of game, sometimes how corrupt it can be, depends on also on the level of cynicism that you find in the context, competitiveness with your colleagues, so also to deviate the discussion from overproducing, no, but also to these other layers that is not only depending on you and how much you produce, but it's something that you cannot control maybe because it's also the circumstances around you, how much you agree or disagree with how the logics of the game function.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, you can agree with all this. It's a little bit moralistic, no? To hear this kind of thing, and you can agree, like ethically, of course. But in another hand, the context is you. You are the context also, no?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was saying before. I was in Cuba now for a month working, and the priorities are different. You know, like they want to have a space of self-expression and to be able to work in a minimum conditions because they don't have conditions, and they are not allowed to say so many things. So in the end, they find, so it's not about career, it's about something else. So in the end, the context always pushes you to find what you need, no? And then I don't know, I don't know these ghosts that Marlon is proposing and the balance about the practice he does, which I'm sure that will produce an effect. That if you do Vipassana and this kind of making you see life in another way. But if you do, like walking to Santiago de Compostela or running every day or yoga or I don't know, whatever is good for you, or even being the biggest motherfucker and breaking the whole system apart. No? Like, I don't know, this, for me it's very, very complex to this kind of system we are against and this neoliberalism, capitalism. It's like a big ghost that for me is too complex to deal with. I prefer to deal with you, and then let's do something than be resistance against something that I don't know exactly what it is.
But then you would, did I understand well that you would say that that ambition has, that we have a right to be ambitious always in every situation. It just depends on our context, because while we were preparing this program I was also thinking who has a right actually to be ambitious, no? How many people, for example, they have no I don't know, access to education, so they even cannot think about it to do PhD because they have no access. But does it mean that they cannot be ambitious because somehow the social context does not allow them, or they can always be ambitious, it's just a matter on which scale?
Well, this is tricky because, of course, the ideal would be that everybody has the right to think ambitiously, however a degree of ambition, no? Mm-hmm. And some people, they cannot think the ambitiousness is to get food for next day, and this is already a lot. And so this is very complex. This is very complex subject to be in the position that I can be more ambitious than others. Yeah. But for me, the ambitiousness, the interest in ambitiousness is the one that make a space for things to happen. And then, of course, if you see that somebody is making a wrong space, then this is a problem. But on the other hand, as a principle, I believe very much in let's make it. Let's do a space like you are doing tonight here in this TV program. It's a space, whatever space is, but you invent it and you give yourself the rights to do it, and then you invite people. So this is what has to happen. And then, the rest is context, is ethics, is the complexity that we don't have to erase it. We are in friction and in relation to that, but I don't know if I explained myself a little bit or not. I'm sorry.
What about this side of the table before we move to the next section? Is there anything that you are holding?
I had this talk with my flatmate yesterday, and we were talking about like what you said, or what Marlon is saying, that like the art making is becoming something like maybe that we didn't expect for it to become. That we got like invigilated, you know, that like we got infected by a system that we were supposed to impose, and that we are like trapped. We work within the same structures, and then we thought that maybe like because it is happening, art as this like concept or like people who actually like really take a break, you know, like really like hang out with the concept and like also figure out for the future like if this is really what matters in what we do, like, you know, because like we think we are like opposing a certain structures of working, but we are capitalist producers, and then we are not at peace with that, but then we also like we don't find solutions. So it's, I don't know, I think like my personal story of last month is like having a break, and I think it's very healthy. Like as this like one art person, like I already made it. You know, because I don't know, I also think like when you say about like overdoing, I think this is the thing, like that like we don't have time to hang out anymore. That we don't really think we have time to engage socially because we're so busy with work. And then we say, but our work is socially engaged. But this is also a question if we want to participate in society only as workers, you know, only as producers, or maybe we also like privately can, I don't know, that we can give each other time to also like be civilians in response to the like environment that we're living in. That because in art we are like, I don't know, like I feel we're very, like a lot of times we're like powerless.
But Kasia, would you say that the fact that we all work constantly, is it only like a matter because we are ambitious, because we are a part of the system, because we need to produce? And what if you work a lot because you're obsessed with what you're doing, and there's also in different driving force, different than the external forces that are putting upon us?
Yeah. I don't know, then I guess you have a different problem also, you know, like, obsessed. But also that's the thing, that like we are told to be obsessed with our work. That we should do it also out of love and curiosity and being on a certain like social quest, political quest. But
You think it's not possible? We should always be suspicious towards our love towards work?
I don't know, because it's also like for me it's also very inconvenient to realize that work is defining me for myself. I think this is this point where you have to like take a break, because it's like my lack of success in my professional life would like actually influence all my life, you know, that I would have like no other safe place to be like strong or like worth something. And I think, I don't know, I think like we should rethink our relation to work. I really think that we have a lot of issues that, like Marlon is saying, like this Eurocentric community should also like revisit certain things, you know, and also learn from the history. That maybe we are doing something that we don't want to acknowledge, and maybe we're not that liberal. Maybe we're not bringing the change that we're talking about.
I have something just very more basic, like sometimes your ambition that you have with your artistic work doesn't quite match with the expectations of an institution that you presented in. And sometimes there's miscommunication, and I mean I've experienced it several times in my life, and that can be a really horrible experience, and which put me, I think, at least twice in a deep crisis, which lasted for, I would say, both times a year, and I remember one time there was this big festival, and they were like, okay, you failed, one programmer said to me. And then I said, yeah, but there must be, because it didn't actually go so well, it's true, because I took too much risk and the conditions weren't great because I asked for more time and I wouldn't get it and so on. And then I then replied, okay, but there must be space for human failure because we are putting our heads out and we're risking something and sometimes we fail. And then he said, not here. If you fail here, you're done. It's going to linger on.
Where was it?
The Kunsten Festival.
Well, tell us the name of the curator later after the program.
But then
sounds more like a bullfighter arena.
Yeah, but that is then it's also a bit like I had to decide for myself. Also, like okay, it might linger on, yes, but I am not done here. I have a say in this, and that's another yes.
Well, there is. I totally agree with you on to rethink labor and work. But on another hand, I'm very interested in what you said about what is art. Is depending now of society or whoever says society needs art, or can we build a context where art is more a space where you can experience reality, not giving another angle of reality, but experience reality. So a kind of field where you live. It's not something. It's not about practice. It's not about pieces to do pieces for theater. Blah blah blah. It's more really a context that is strong enough to be in life and to experience life. So for me, and for that we need to work a lot because otherwise it's. So of course for me it's very. I mean I was directing a festival for 10 years and I'm still curating different things. At the same time making work, and this kind of mix between what is to make work and then to curate it comes always with a huge friction, no? It's like, because the piece can project a lot and affect a lot, but it doesn't build in itself a context where things happen. So that's why for me the work in community is much interesting than thinking only in the artist position of, okay, I have my piece, which is very strong because otherwise there is a lot of lack in experience and things, but I'm very much drive with the idea of making our context stronger than and independent than depending of social needs right now.